With Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, we're still getting new names of people who are catching this damn virus, and some of them are athletes. Now, apparently, Denver Broncos star linebacker, former Super Bowl 50 MVP Von Miller, is the second active NFL player to test positive for COVID-19. He says he's doing well and self-isolating at home. And here's a clip of him telling today's show's Chanel Jones about his experience battling this virus after saying he'd been taking it seriously. Once, they were training in San Francisco. And when San Francisco went on lockdown, he immediately went back to Denver, and he took this seriously from the beginning.
I've been here in Denver for about 4 weeks now, and within that 4 weeks, I've probably left the house 4 times. All of those 4 times, I never got out the car. It was just to drive, to pick up food, and to come back home. So I've really just been taking it serious, staying at home. Of course, I have people come in, in and out, like workers, maids, and people to come do the plumbing, just everyday stuff. But it was really nothing crazy. Got a cough, and here we are today.
And he does say before that that he does have asthma, but he thought he had a weird cough, and he used a nebulizer, and it didn't work. So then he decided he needed to get tested for something that didn't have anything to do with asthma.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Are you as upset over the face masks that linemen wear? I know Von's pass rusher, but I'm talking about offensive linemen. I watch these mock draft shows when I row on my rowing machine, and they show the big tackle from LSU, and he's got the drop mask. He's got all of the drop quarterback cage, like back. See, there's 2 ways you could tell what position a guy plays in football. You can tell by the number and by the face mask. You used to be able to tell by the face mask. The guy had the big cage.
Right, big
that was
grill,
with
the line down the middle.
Yeah, and there was a big one. There was like a squared off birdcage one, and then there was even a bigger one, and you knew who played what. It started with the least contact guy in the world. Those were the kickers. Those were the punters and the kickers, and they had like a single bar. They had almost nothing.
Slung low across their jaw.
Slung low across the chin. Then the second sort of least contact guys were like the quarterbacks, and they had a little bigger, but not all that much bigger. Then they had the running backs, and every once in a while there was a running back that would wear the one with the crossbar, or there was like the Larry Zonka one, which had like the bull ring on it and stuff. And you could tell like what position guys played by their face mask. Now almost everyone wears the same kind of drop thing, including the interior line guys. And my child's going to have to grow up in a world with almost no differences in face mask, and I don't want to live in that world.
When you say your child, you mean Italia, right? Because Sonny's not going to have any interest. I'm joking, of course.
I used to obsess on face masks, which teams wore which style, which guys ran which ones. And there was always there's always somebody, there were a couple guys in the 70s who even had like the old school Gale Sayers type, or the O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson had the one he wore in college. It was like that same kind of a 2-bar weird thing that was like every football helmet lamp from the 70s had just that on it. It was like a standard thing. Now everyone's got the same one.
What does Von Miller wear?
Kind of the same kind of drop one.
You know what? Never took what had a short run and surprisingly didn't last was the visor, like the shades. You know what I mean? Like that's like a real like advantage for like running backs and stuff. You couldn't see if they were looking. They were looking at the linebacker. They were looking. You know what I mean? Sizing at the defense. Like Danny Tomlinson wore the visor. Other
they
guys
have the clear. I think they made a rule that it has to be clear.
Oh, is that like a head injury thing? You think?
No, they had a clear. Let's see. We talked about it once when it came to the offensive lineman on Cleveland, Brown, I think. Was it?
Oh,
was it
the guy who got injured in the eye or something like that?
Yes,
with the flag?
Yes. So they said they didn't want. So Jim McMahon wore one, but you couldn't see it. You couldn't read his face. It wasn't good for TV. You couldn't see the guys. Well, you think about those shots of like Tom Brady, like in the shotgun where they get right up on his face and you can see him surveying the defense and all that. And it wouldn't work, that kind of Darth Vader thing. But I do think some of the skill guys have the clear plastic now.
It does seem like it. It's definitely a competitive advantage. Like if Tom Brady were to wear Jim McMahon, you couldn't read the quarterback's eyes, couldn't see him sizing up the defense. Like that's a competitive advantage.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't think they have the smoked one now. They just have the clear, so you physically couldn't get a fingernail in the eye. That's
so you don't get to pick like you get grandfathered in hockey and you just don't feel like wearing a face mask.
Well, there was a time when initially nobody had a face mask. Then some guys had a face mask, and it was kind of like hockey in that there was a point in the league, probably 5 years, where like some guys had them, some guys didn't. There was also a weird thing in like the 40s or the 50s where they had a clear plexi face, which kind of makes sense. Like you could see through the plexi that was going around the guy's face, but it probably wasn't nearly strong enough either way. So,
all right. So rest up, Von Miller.
Yeah, I like Von Miller.
And she said, like, so, how's your day been so far? And he's like, I woke up 30 minutes ago just to do this. So I think he's struggling a little, but he looks pretty good. New York and other East Coast states have extended their shutdown to May 15th. LA Mayor Garcetti says the ban on large gatherings specifically could last into next year, which we talked about a little bit. What you just mentioned, Adam, is the big headline lately, and I bet Vinny is just I told you soing all over the place. The New York Times, along with lots of other news outlets, are reporting that obesity may be the most important predicator of severe coronavirus illness. This is according to a new study. Though people with obesity frequently have other medical problems, the new study points that the condition in and of itself as the most significant risk factor after old age for being hospitalized with COVID-19. The research is preliminary, not peer-reviewed, but it supports what so many doctors are saying. No one knows why obesity makes COVID-19 worse, but the three leading theories are: one, some coronavirus patients with obesity may already have compromised respiratory function. Two, abdominal obesity can cause compression of the diaphragm, the lungs, and the chest capacity. And three, obesity is known to cause chronic low-grade inflammation and an increase in circulating pro-inflammatory cytokines. I think we were talking about the cytokine storm the other day, which may worsen things. So, I mean, it kind of adds up.
We're going to have to do something about obesity, and we're going to have to sort of declare war on it like we would do on smallpox or malaria or whatever I don't know, like when AIDS was killing everyone, it was like, we got to tell everyone to put a condom on, and we'll put those condoms at the gay bars. We'll put them in the fishbowl and we'll make them free. Like we have to.
We'll put the celery in the fishbowl.
Yeah,
right. Carry.
Free celery, fatty. We're going to have to do something. And this whole notion of like, well, your body shaming, like, no, this is about health.
Yeah.
Well, this is life or death. Yeah.
This is life and death. And it's also putting a crazy burden, not only on your knees and hips, but the system. It's putting a huge burden on the system. And we're going to have to, every commercial I see, it's so funny. If you watch like the NFL Network, you'll see the same commercials over and over again. It's like 1 in 6 children go to bed with food insecurities. Like we got to shift the narrative from everyone is starving to we're fucking fat and we need to do something about it now. And like if you people get their feelings hurt, so be it. It's essentially the parents going, hey, no jelly beans for breakfast. That's it. Like we're going to have to work it out. And I'm not a real like Bloomberg kind of like no Coke over 16 ounces, although there is no reason for a soda to be over 16 ounces. There just isn't. But like what if you just took?
Unless you're on a date with 2 straws, you know what I mean?
That's right.
At the malt shop.
Yeah, with it called a knee high. So there's a few things, for instance, drinking your calories. I see people drinking those Arizona pre-sweetened iced teas and like a big like 19, 22 ounce thing, and they think they're drinking iced tea.
That's right.
They don't think they're drinking soda.
And a good rule of thumb. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to, because of what you just said, I think a good rule of thumb is if you order something at Starbucks with a dome on top.
Yes.
Bad idea. because dome means room for whipped cream, and that's not the kind of thing you're supposed to be drinking.
Right. And they wouldn't do that with, pure, with pulverized kale and ginger. Nobody puts a dollop of whipped cream on there. Yeah. So we need to first thing, we need to understand what we're drinking. I feel like people just drink stuff all day long and have no idea what they're doing to themselves by just that subject alone. I mean, I think people understand fast food is not real great for you and it makes you fat and this, that, and the other. But most of the people, Bald Brian included, and my buddy Chris, not that Chris, but another Chris, everyone I know who's lost a ton of weight just went, I stopped drinking so much soda and I started walking.
Yeah, that was the first and easiest thing to cut out the soda. I haven't had a real soda in God knows how many decades. But yeah, they cut that out, and you're halfway there.
But either way, like if we can just start taking some of this stuff that we turn into some sort of, we break everything down in some socioeconomic thing or by race or by gender or shaming or whatever. If we could just go, this is just a pure health standpoint. People are obese. We need to rein it in. And we're going to get fatter too, because life's getting easier every 10 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, and we're quarantined. Everyone's getting fatter. But I think that, and we may have brought this up the other day, it's usually just this overall arching topic of, you really shouldn't do that, and you really should think about your health. And there's nothing to grab onto. But when you have a study that says, hey, obese people are dying at an alarming rate because of this disease, because of this virus that everyone's catching, that's tangible. That makes me put down the fork when I see something like that, because it's been hard for me too, sitting around in a chair at a newsroom and eating while I work, and I definitely feel myself gaining, and I don't want to do that.
Well, I'll tell you what. Another thing, you notice I was talking about my hands, but one thing you notice when you get older is, when you used to want to, in the past, when you're younger version of yourself and you're like, I want to cut 5 pounds this week. And you go, all right, I'll take it easy on breakfast and lunch, and I'll do this and I'll do that. And you do all the stuff you thought you would do. Your body doesn't react the same way. That weight that used to just come dripping off when you modified things a little bit, not so much. You got to modify things a lot as you get older if you really want that weight. What was pretty easy, even I'm 55. When I was 45, if I wanted to drop 10 pounds in a week, it was pretty easily done. It is not easily done anymore. So there's a little more work involved. But in general, there is a benefit to this, which is your weight and your body and your nutrition and your health is a direct correlation to many principles in your life that are very valuable. And I have a theory. The two guys I grew up with, my two best friends, were very gifted in the physique department. Things came very easily to them. They did not have to work out to look like they'd been working out or to be physically dominating or anything. But, and I did. I had to eat 6 hard-boiled eggs and live in the weight room if I was going to be an all-valley football player. Chris and Ray did not. But later on, I was able to use that discipline and focus a little more in life, and they never had that base of like that discipline. Like it literally just was too easy for them. And what you put in your body and how much you exercise your body, and you guys know it's a daily struggle. Like it is on your mind every single day. It's a constant battle. And, when you're a kid, you don't really need it. You never get fat. You always look good. You never really develop that discipline gear. Mm-hmm. And Gina, I would bet you and the struggles you've had over the years with weight has probably made you more disciplined and a little more focused and a little more able to have sort of dominion over yourself. Because if you think about it, you finish your meal, and then somebody goes, "Hey, you want a piece of cheesecake?" And you go, "Oh, I don't. I do.
Do I want it? Yeah.
I don't. I do. I don't." And then you elect not to. Then there's the other person that goes, "Cheesecake, give me 2 pieces," and they eat 2. Well, then,
and I've been there.
At a certain point, there's going to be many other applications for that don't have to do with cheesecake. The boss is going to go, "Hey, we need someone to work on Saturday," and everyone's going to think, "Fuck, I don't want to work on Saturday. I want that cheesecake." And then the other one's going to go, "I know. I have dominion over myself. I know what to do. Okay, you know what? I can say yes to things, or no. I can say yes to things that are painful. I can say no to things I crave." I think we all know those people who don't really have much control over themselves. Like they just don't know how to put in those hours, or, that thing where you get up in the morning and you're like, "I'm not quite feeling it today." And they just go right back to bed and call in sick or whatever it is. Right. It doesn't serve them big picture. So not only would we have the byproduct of thinner people and healthier people, but we'd have people that had a little more resilience mentally, who, of course, everyone wants I want a root beer every morning. I want a root beer with every meal.
That'd be awesome.
There's nothing better, and especially the high-end stuff, like in the bottle now. Yes, I want one of
cream
those.
Soda.
I want a cream soda and root beer with every fucking breath. But I have dominion over myself, and I think, unlike my friends I grew up with, I think it served me. I think I was able to then later on in life, when we would all work construction and they'd all go home and go, "All right, we're going to drink some beers," I'd go, "No, I'm going to my groundlings class." Right. And I think it was that little experience that enabled me to go do that. It's kind of why you want to hire handicapped people. Like they work harder.
It's funny you mentioned beers after all this, because I was literally 24 hours ago having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he just off the cuff was like, "When's the last time you had a beer?" I was like, "I fucking haven't had beer in a year and a half almost. I miss it every day. Like I love beer. Adam, you know how much I love beer. Like I love it. And but it's part of the discipline of it's not on the table. No pun intended.
Yes, but don't you feel so much more well-rounded now than when you were giving in to yourself a lot?
Yes. The overall answer is
I don't mean a year and a half ago. I mean like Fat Brian.
Yeah, 100%. When I lost the weight initially, I remember making a promise to myself. Sounds so fucking douchey, but literally I was like, I'll never put that weight back on. Whatever happens, I'll never put the weight back on. I was miserable when I was fat.
Sorry, Gina, one more.
Oh, right. Well, boy, oh boy, if this one wasn't written specifically for this show, I don't know what is. Variety.com reports that crew members from Ellen DeGeneres' long-running daytime talk show are very angry over their treatment from top producers amid this pandemic. And stay tuned for the end, because, of course, it has a little button. The core stage crew for the Ellen DeGeneres show, consisting more than 30 employees, received no written communication about the status of their working hours, pay, inquiries about their mental, physical health from producers over a month. This is according to 2 sources. The crew was further pissed by the show's recent hire of an outside non-union tech company to help DeGeneres tape remotely from her house in California. When production executives finally did weigh in, nearly all crew members were told last week to brace for a 60% reduction in pay, even as the show continues to air. Only 4 core members currently work on the remote version of the broadcast, and insiders say they find this treatment to be totally inconsistent with DeGeneres' daily message to her audience to be kind.
Be kind, I forgot.
Yep. Be kind to one another.
Starts with dancing, ends with be kind to one another.
On the other side of the spectrum, Jimmy Kimmel Live stagehands were paid from host Kimmel's own pocket during initial COVID-19 shutdowns. The 2 insiders familiar with the set told Variety since returning to the air, the network ABC is paying their full rates, and Jimmy covered it when they weren't.
Wow. Yeah, Ted Cruz says it wasn't actually from his pocket. Those were checks that were issued from a Jewish accountant.
Yeah,
okay.
He never saw the money, and we went from one account.
Yeah, you're acting like he handed them the money. That was
this
just
is fake news.
This is a remote stranger cutting cold checks and putting them in the mail. That's not straight
right.
from his pocket.
So crass.
Okay. I was thinking about this, like with Ellen, and I kind of mean it, which is, dancing at the beginning and be kind at the end. And she's not that person, but she wants you to think she's that person. Like, the only other person who danced at the beginning of the show, Bill Cosby. That's right. If you watch the beginning,
That's right.
you want to have fun, get high and just watch the beginning of the Bill Cosby show. It's a mugging. Like
Every iteration.
How hard is he working to make you think he's different than what's in his soul?
Right.
Wow.
You watch the beginning of that show, and it's like a guy couldn't express it. He couldn't tap dance more for you to think. Like, he puts on a sweater that looks like the Partridge Family bus and then does this crazy pantomime, which is like the friendliest, nuttiest. I mean, it's like an infomercial for him being this person.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, you don't, like, when I do a show or anyone does it, you wouldn't think like I have to be so saccharine sweet to everyone. They have to perceive me this way, unless there was something driving that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want
Something
them to
covered.
discover this other side.
Subterfuge.
So my thing with Ellen is, I often think about Rosie's arc, and, she had the Cutie Patootie Chub Club, and now she's Rosie, but at least this is the real version of her.
Right. She's leaning in.
Maybe it's time for Ellen to come out again.
Oh,
Come out as mean. Come out as
It's
evil.
mean. It's mean. Oh, fucking own it. That's who you are. Like, there were two things you were hiding. One is your sexual proclivities. You came out. We accepted that. Now it's time to come out as a bitch. You got to come out as a mean person. That's fine. Hey, I'm not that nice.
She could be a trailblazer, man. Think about it. In this day and age, it comes out as mean. Like, fuck everyone being nice.
I mean, Larry David's not that nice, and works
we love
for him. And we love him. We love most about Larry David. Authenticity. That's all
right.
we like. That's all we don't even care. We just like that he is who he is, right? So I'm saying it might be time for a second coming out for Ellen, and I would applaud it. As a mean person, maybe it would give me the courage. Oh, no, wait a minute.
Oh, wait.
But you're already out.
You would embrace her.
Yeah.
I would embrace her.
You're on the cover of Mad magazine with 2 A's. Like Glad.
Yeah, so come out for a second time. We encourage that, and I would be a big fan.
That's
all
great.
right. Let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
That was the news with Gina.